Well, good morning, guys. Have you ever propagated a FUYU persimmon tree? That's FUYU, F-U-Y-U. Well, that's what we're doing today. Guys, I went by my nephew's house and he's got a FUYU persimmon tree. And if you don't know what that is, they grow about that big around and they're kind of shaped like a tomato and they orange. I'll try to attach a picture of some I can find attached in this video so you can see. But the thing is very good, and I've been wanting one of these trees. Well, that FUYU persimmon, some people call them Asian persimmons, and I think some's called Japanese persimmons, but these here's the FUYU persimmons. And they kind of like a texture of an apple when you peel it, but it's got a flavor. I can't describe exactly, but it has a flavor in it that tastes somewhere between a baked sweet potato and a raw sweet potato. Well, I love raw sweet potatoes, so I just love these little things. And I just ain't wanted to purchase a tree, I just wanted to propagate a tree. And I tried doing this, I can't remember if it was last year or year before last, and I didn't have no luck doing this. Well, 2 or 3 weeks ago, give or take a week, I propagated. My mom had a fig tree in her yard, and that thing makes good figs and has for years, and I don't know what variety it is, but I went up there and I got me 8 cuttings off of it. And like I said, this is somewhere around 3, maybe 4 weeks ago I done this. And as you can see, every one of them but this one right here is the only one that ain't taking root. And I ain't give up on it yet. It may have a little green speck right there coming out on it. Well, I thought, well, it's working out so good on these fig trees. Now that I have my little greenhouse, I'm finna try this FUYU persimmon again. So today when I was at his house, I got me some little cuttings off his trees. And in my little pots here, I got my seed starting mix that I make. And if you're interested in how I make my seed starting mix, I'll attach it above so you can go watch that video. But first, I'm gonna just wet this down and let it be soaking up. I'll wet it 2 or 3 times till I see water coming out the bottom in this pan here. And I know it's done soaked up about all the water it's gonna soak up. But while it's soaking that up, we're gonna start preparing our twigs, if you want to call them that we cut off the FUYU persimmon tree. Now when you do this, you want to get a piece of the latest growing. You don't want to go way down on the limb and get into your last year's growth. You want your newest growth that's on there. And that's what I did on them fig trees, and you see how well it's working. Now guys, all I did on them fig trees is I just reached up here about 1 inch up on there, and I just shaved me just a little bit off, just like that. And then I took 2 more spots and I just cut me a line through basically cutting through the bark, scoring it. I call it scoring it. But that there peeled off, but that's be all right. It's just more like that side. But I'm gonna be scoring this, and I'm gonna show you how I do it. I lay it down on something hard here so I can just press down on it. And I just score it in a couple spots. I can probably do this a little better. Take my knife blade right there. I don't know if y'all can see my arms in the way, but I just score a line down it in a couple of spots. And right now I'm gonna just stick it back in the water till I get my soil here all good and damp. The only thing I've ever been able to propagate was a rosemary. Now I've done several rosemary bushes and they seem to work pretty easy. But when I done that fig tree and I see I got 7 and I ain't give up on that 8th one yet, because today it's looking like it's starting to show up a little green tip maybe. I said, well, I'm finna run over to his house. He lives a good 25 minutes from me. Get me some cuttings, and we finna see if we can propagate us a FUYU Persimmon. Like I said, them things, I ain't never eat one before. He bought this house place that had this tree on it. And we started researching what it was and talked to the lady that owned the house before. And I said, well, I just want me one of them. And I've never seen one up here at our local place, and I ain't a person that gets out and goes anywhere, so I ain't seen one, and I didn't want to order one. Plus, I'd just rather start my own like this. When you do stuff like this, it has a little more meaning to it. For some reason. Now, the bark ain't as thick on these little twigs here as it was on that fig tree. I'll think about one more time with the water here. The starting mix here is going to be good enough. You want to make sure it's good and damp through and through when you're doing this. I do know that. Then all we're going to do, guys, a lot of people, you watch them on YouTube or read about it, they say you need a rooting compound. It's powder or some's a paste. Most of it I've seen is a powder. You dip that in there. Some say you can use cinnamon, just regular old cinnamon out of your spices. Them fig trees right there, what you see me doing is all I done, and them things is taking off good. So I'm gonna try the same thing. We're just gonna stick that right down in that pot. I'm gonna mash it down because you want to make sure ain't no air getting around it. Make sure your soil. And I'm gonna pour a little more water that way it makes the soil, or the seed starting mix, which is the soil, make it kind of settle around it. I think that stuff's called a rooting hormone or something. But like I said, I didn't use it on them rosemaries I started. Now, yes, every one of them didn't take. I'd do 4 or 5 and get 2 or 3 out of it. But them fig trees, that's the first time I've ever done that, guys. And I don't see no sense in buying no rooting compound, hormone compound, whatever it's called. I can't remember the proper name, but I'll attach it in the screen. I wasn't gonna buy none just to do this. With. Because the thing is, I was only wanting one fig tree for myself, because I have one already planted, and I'm only wanting one of these FUYU Persimmon trees. So if I can get just one to start out of all these, that's all I'm gonna need. Then after that, I end up giving the rest of them away. Actually, what I'm gonna do, the biggest one out, like the fig tree there, whichever the biggest one and the prettiest one, come around middle of April. That's the one I'm gonna plant. Then I'm gonna take me another one and I'm gonna put in me a pot, and I'll probably keep it in the greenhouse longer if need be. And I'm gonna have it in a pot growing in case something happens to one I plant. I'll still have one and not give them all away. I'll give them all away but 2. So, needless to say, if I only get one started out of this and I can get it planted and make it work out, that's all I need. And if you've ever done this before, and you got any tips and tricks up your sleeve, put them in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about how I'm doing in here. Like I said, all I can say is you see the fig trees yourself. It worked that one time. It may never work again, but it worked on them that time. If I can just keep them alive. Now today, I don't know if you can see my tomato plants here, but let me finish this and we'll look at them. Today I almost messed up, but I'm gonna fix that little problem. Y'all see I got my window on my greenhouse here. It opens as it gets hot with a greenhouse vent window hinge, and I have my fan sitting here, and I had it, if you seen on the video the other day, I hooked it up where it's on a temperature controlled thermostat so it'll come on when it gets 80 degrees. But still, in order for that to suck air through here, I have to remember to come out here and open the window on the door or open the door. Well, this morning I left expecting to be back before it got hot, and fooled around and didn't make it back in time, and it got 100 degrees in here, and my tomatoes here started wilting just a little bit. But these tomato plants right here started to wilt just a little bit. But since I've come in here and opened the doors and give them some more water, look like they're just picking back up. It's like I can almost see them coming back up, because it ain't been 20 minutes. But these tomatoes here, they getting close to 5 weeks old. I'll tell you, I planted them on January the 15th. And what's today? Today is February the 22nd, 23rd, 24th, somewhere in there. So these right here is going to be too big for me to plant in my garden, because by the time our temperature gets to where we can plant, they'd have to be planted up in probably 2 or 3 gallon buckets. But anyway, I started them early just playing. You can see the other stuff I got started out here. Most of that's onions and marigolds and zinnias and such as that. And then I got my one of each variety of my peppers and cauliflower, and I got some more tomatoes over there that was started about two weeks behind these bigger ones over here, and them probably gonna be too big for me to plant too. Now you're probably thinking, well, why you plant them tomatoes that early if you know they're gonna be too big to plant? Well, one reason I was just wanting to plant them to see what's happening, because I like playing. But the main reason is, guys, I just built this greenhouse last year. And when I built it, it was because I was in a pickle. I done had my tomatoes planted, and they was bigger than these tomatoes you just looked at over here on my left. Our weather just kept staying cold, and I done potted them up into a gallon and a gallon and a half containers and had them in the house. So I had a floor full of tomatoes. So I actually made a little makeshift greenhouse one day with just plastic and one of them old tent frames, and put them out there and had some heat in there at night. Well, then I went to building this. Well, I never really got to use this. I just, not the way you need to use it. But I kept them tomatoes, and when I planted some tomatoes last year, the ones that I didn't kill, that's a whole nother story I don't even want to go into, with 2,4-D, spread my yard. Yeah, sure did. But anyway, by the time I got them ready to plant, I had to dig holes that big around. Well, I ain't doing that again this year. So back to why I got these early tomatoes planted. Well, I wanted to plant me something. That way, if you've seen my videos and been watching, I got a diesel heater I bought to put in my greenhouse. So I wanted something to put in here on these cold nights that we have to start working with adjusting my heater. I'm working on adjusting my fan. And by the way, I got a fan, and it's going to be a few more days. It's going to be a video. I got another fan. Instead of having this box fan here on this thermostat, since my window already opens on its own on this end, I got a fan that's going to be put in on that end that's thermostat controlled. That way, when this window starts opening, that fan will come on and it'll suck air through there. That way, days like today when I run on and forgot to open the window or the door, it'll have one window open and sucking air through. This fan really don't do much of nothing if I don't open that window or that door on that end, because it can't suck hot air out. But anyway, we're working on all that, and that's what all this is about. So I got me some tomatoes started. Now my peppers and stuff, yeah, they gonna I always like to start my peppers early. Plus that ain't all of them. I'm gonna basically start all of my tomatoes, all the peppers I need, and everything else I need for my garden on March the 1st is when I plan on seeding my stuff, because it's gonna be like the second week of April, unless some reason we have an early spring. No earlier than the 3rd week of March I wanted to plant, so I'm going for shooting for planting on the 1st of March. I mean seeding on the 1st of March, and then transplanting somewhere the second week of April. That's what I'm shooting for. So again, these tomatoes, I ain't gonna say I might play, as long as I got room in here, yeah, I might pot these up into a big pot, 1 or 2 of them, and plant them somewhere not in my garden just to see what they do being big when you plant them. But I know if I start blooming and stuff, that ain't good. Which, if I see them start blooming before I get them transplanted, I'm gonna start pinching the blooms off of them and stuff. But back to propagating our FUYU. And I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. It's FUYU, I think is how you spell it. But I'll put it on the screen, make sure. FUYU Persimmon. I'm doing it just like I done the fig tree sitting over there. And guys, that's all I've done. I set them right there. And I just leave them in a greenhouse, and I don't let my greenhouse get below 40 degrees. Even on them nights that it got down to 22, 25, that little heater kept it above 40. I try to keep it closer to 50, but as long as it for sure stays over 40. I'm trying to do it to where I can keep it above 40 and use the least amount of fuel, which keeps the heater turned on low. Like I said, this is how I've done it. I'm happy with my fig trees, but if you got any tips and tricks on how you do it, please leave it in the comments. Or if you see me doing something majorly wrong, please let me know, because I'm all about learning. Like I said, this is all new stuff to me, the greenhouse deal, because back in the day, my mom and them, other than the tomatoes, now my aunt and uncle, they always potted up the tomatoes, and they always done them in the little cardboard milk cartons from the schoolhouse. Now other than that, everything else was either seeded or either bought plants. I ain't got no big experience with the greenhouse deal. But anyway, I think it's working out pretty good so far. But guys, hope you enjoyed this little video. Thanks for watching. Hope y'all have a great day. God bless. See y'all next time.